Hey everyone, it's Miss Lee here. So today we're going to be doing an oil pastel drawing in response to Cezanne's painting. So first of all, I want us to just warm up our hands and practice how to blend colors together using oil pastels. So first get 3 harmonious colors. So here I've got red, orange and yellow. So harmonious colors means that they blend well together. And you're just going to practice blending them together. So first get the darkest color and press hard. And then you go light. And then you get the next lighter color, which is the orange. Overlap the red area and press hard, and you'll start to see the 2 colors mixing together and blending. And as you come away from the red area, it becomes more and more of the orange color, and you repeat the steps again and press lightly. Then you get the yellow color, which is the lightest one, and you press hard, overlapping the orange area, and move an upward motion to the point where it becomes brighter and more of a yellow color. If you want the end to be completely yellow, you can just get some tissue paper to clean up the ends, or scrap paper, and then just blend it downwards towards the orange area, and that way you get a bright yellow color at the end. So that's how you blend oil pastels together. So you might get some bits, you can just tap off the excess off into a bin, and that should just work just fine. So here's a close-up of what it looks like. Right, so the next part, you've got your outlines in front of you, and with that you're going to start on this apple first. So get the darkest color, which is the red color, and you're going to start with the darkest tone. So press hard, go around the outlines, and then start coloring in the shape. Make sure you apply control and accuracy so you don't go outside the outline. Make sure it's a solid block color where you don't see the paper underneath peeking through. As you come away to show the lighter tone, remember you press lightly and get the next color, which is the orange, and you overlap the red area to mix the 2 colors together in order to blend the 2 colors seamlessly. As you're blending, press hard, mix it in because the friction will warm up the oil pastel and it will start to mix them really nicely. And then as you come away, you start to press a little bit lighter so that you can get the next color up, which would be the yellow, which is the lightest tone. And again with the yellow, you press hard, overlap the orange in order for them to blend, and then that way you'll get a nice seamless blend as well. Make sure you're looking back at the original artwork so that you know where the light tones are, the dark tones and so forth, what shape is that area in order for it to be a yellow tone and so forth. So just make sure you're always cross-checking back. Do it in a shape that makes the object look round, so don't just do it in straight lines, do curved shapes because the apple itself is a round object. So you need to make sure when you're colouring this in, you are thinking about the shape that you're doing it in, the direction that you're doing it in. So this next part, you can see I've added some highlights, so that meaning the lightest tone, which is the yellows. So that creates the mark where I want to add the darker tones in as well. Here you can see I'm starting to add the cool tones in, which is the green. With the green, I'm using a dark green to outline those areas that shows really dark tones, and I'm pressing hard, making sure that paper doesn't show through. As you can see on the top of the fruit, I've also coloured in a bit of green to show darker tone. When you see green overlapping the red, it starts to turn into like a warm brown tone. So instead of just using black to create dark tones, you want to use complementary colors to create those darker tones. That way it doesn't come over. If you use a black oil pastel, it will be too strong. So what you can use to create really dark tones like that is use complementary colors to mix it in. So for instance, red and green. The occasional blue you might want to use to show some cooler tone in that mixture. Also you can use brown, like a light brown or dark brown, to create those darker tones as well. So I'm just working my way around at this point. So I'm mixing in with the orange and red together to make sure that it's nice and seamless. Don't be afraid to press hard in order for it to mix, but don't press hard to the point where your oil pastel will break. Just put some pressure on when you're using oil pastels. You will know when they're mixing because you can see it as you're going along, and then that way you'll recognize, okay, this is how hard or how soft I should press when using my oil pastels. So now I'm using my yellow and I'm just starting to blend the rest of the area in to create that lighter tone. And when I'm doing this, I am constantly looking back at Cezanne's artwork so that I know which direction my red needs to go, or my orange and yellows and so forth. Try to look at the painting in sections rather as a whole thing, because that will become a little bit overwhelming to do when you first start out. So just look at one fruit and one section of the fruit as you go around, so that way you're able to apply accuracy and precision in the way you do your drawing. So remember to create those marks that are not straight but curved shape, which shapes the apple itself and makes it look 3D. Some areas you will need to create textures. So for instance, the green and yellows, you want to show those textures. So if you look at Cezanne's work, there are some textured brush marks. So you can show that by using your oil pastels to make those jagged edge look. And as you can see, when I'm mixing that bit of that green at the bottom with the red, it starts to turn into a bit of a darker tone. So really try to experiment with the colours that you're mixing, because that way, instead of having to use black, you can just mix two complementary colours together and it will just work just fine. Okay, so now I'm just cleaning up my oil pastel and I'm just adding a little bit more green to create those marks. And here I'm creating the marks in a downward motion so it looks more 3D and realistic, rather than just curved lines. So sometimes you want to create those an opposite direction of marks, so that way it looks more realistic. Right, so you can see that I'm starting to use a bit of black oil pastels to help with the outlining of the fruits. So I generally start with a bit of brown and experiment where I want the black oil pastels to go, because once the black oil pastels down, it's very hard to sort of correct those mistakes. So yeah, so when you're using your black oil pastel, be very careful how you outline. So look at the edge of your oil pastel and make sure you're pressing on the sharpest area to create those nice neat outlines. And when you're going around, just apply control and accuracy. So use the side of your hand to lean against the surface. If not, have a scrap piece of paper underneath it so you don't end up smudging the work underneath as well. And as you go around, just be really careful how you outline it. You can see I'm mixing with a bit of brown so that it doesn't come off too harsh, and some areas I also mix in a bit of blue so that it shows a little bit more of a cooler tone on that. So with the background, I'm using blue and black together. So I'm pressing hard with the blue, but I'm not creating solid block color. I'm kind of put it in a rough kind of manner. And then I use my black and overlap any areas and try to blend in the blue together. And when I'm doing this, I don't completely cover it. I use the blue again to mix the two colors together. Remember, the black oil pastel is a very strong, bold color, so you only need a little bit to help create those textured mark of a background. Try to do it in a direction that's like diagonal outward facing of your paper, and that way you can create really nice textured mark for the background. And as you're mixing in with the blue, you can see the blue starts to turn into a bit of a darker blue, and some areas shows lighter blue because I started off with a bit of blue and then worked my own move by adding a bit of black to create those textures. And then here I'm starting to add a bit more shadows using a bit of blues and greens. And don't worry if the black starts to blend in a little bit, it actually quite helps to make it look a little bit more seamless. Now with the table surface, all I'm doing is roughly adding in the yellow oil pastels. Then I use the white oil pastels and blend everything in. You want the white oil pastels to completely cover the surface, so you need to do the whole of the table surface and the top surface and the sides as well. And once you're done, I would start to refine any areas by adding more detail, more depth and tone, and that's it.